Hi students, welcome to today's class. Today, in the previous class, we have already studied microcontrollers, embedded process, that is process and difference between microcontrollers and processor and its applications, and have already discussed 8051 pin configurations, etc. Now, in this session, we are studying about 8051 architecture and block diagram of 8051 and the blocks associated with it. Okay. This is the block diagram of 8051 or internal architecture or internal block diagram of 8051. We have already discussed that 8051 has inbuilt a RAM, a ROM, special function registers, timers, CPU, bus control unit, IO ports and serial communication port, etc. So these all are included in a single IC called microcontroller. Okay, so uh, these are the elements included in a 8051 microcontroller. It includes a CPU, that is central processing unit, which is the main component of the 8051, and it has an oscillator circuitry, uh, crystal oscillator, which produces a clock pulse of 12 megahertz, and it has two pin XTAL1 and XTAL2 through which we are providing the signals for this oscillator. Now we have bus control unit. Bus control unit has different, it contains mainly two buses, that is an address bus and data bus, and we have controls buses too. This control buses includes read and write signals, that is WR bar and RT bar, and it has many pins associated with this bus control, that is EA, that is external access pin, and ALE, address latch enable, and PSEN, program store enable, etc. This program store, if the program store enable is set, only then we take information or access from the external ROM, etc. So these are the bus control unit used to control the buses. Mainly it has a 16-bit address bus and an 8-bit data bus. We have already discussed about that. That is from features of 8051. Okay. Then we have a 4 IO port, input output port. It includes mainly P0, P1, P2 and P3. Each have alternate functions, that is P0 is an input output port. Along with it has a multiplexed version of address and data bus, and in P2 it has only address bus, that is higher order of address bus, and also it's an IO port. And P1 has no alternate function, it only used as input output port. And P3 has a lot of alternative functions, it's a multifunctional pin. And next section is serial port. Serial port is used to communicate to external devices, that it has a transmitting and receiving unit. The data received from RXT pin and the data are transmitted through TXT pin. And we have two timers, timer 0 and timer 1. It is used as timer and also counter as well. It's a 16-bit timer or counter. It has timer 0 and timer 1. Okay. Then next we have a RAM and ROM, internal RAM and ROM. The data memory are saved in internal RAM. It has 128 bytes of internal RAM, and program memory is saved in internal ROM, or code is saved in internal ROM, which has a 4 kilobytes of memory space, and it has some special function registers too. And also it has an interrupt control. It has contained 5 interrupt, that is 3 internal interrupt, that is software interrupt, and 2 external interrupt, that is hardware interrupt. The external interrupts are coming from the pins INT0 and INT1. So this is the simplified block diagram of 8051. Okay, so we can discuss each and every element in detail. Okay, so these all elements are connected by means of system bus. System bus includes address bus, data bus and control buses. Okay, so these all are integrated in a single chips in the case of microcontroller. Okay, then we can discuss each and every one in detail. Then first it consists of a CPU, two kinds of memory, that is data memory stored in RAM and a program memory which is stored in ROM, and it has input output port, that is a 4 port. Each port have 8-bit memory or 8-bit size, that is P0, P1, P2 and P3 is at a control logic needed for timer and control unit, and such a serial port and interrupt signal, okay, interrupt control signal. These elements communicate through system bus, that is address bus and data bus. It has a 16-bit address bus and a 8-bit data bus, and it also control bus too. Okay. Now 16-bit address and 8-bit data bus is this bus buffered to the outside world through an I/O port when memory or I/O expansion is desired. Okay. Now next we are studying about the block CPU. Okay, CPU, that is central processing unit. It's mainly, we know that CPU has mainly ALU, that is arithmetic and logic unit, and a control unit, and also of course a memory location, that is a special function registers. Okay, memory location. Then in CPU, it monitors and perform all the arithmetic logical operation by means of ALU unit, and it reads program written in ROM memory and execute them and do the expected task of that application. These all are controlled by control unit. The CPU of 8051 consists of 8-bit arithmetic and logic unit with associated registers like it has registers A, B, PSW, that is program status word or flag register, which provides the status of the result, that is in accumulator, and SP, that is stack pointer, and a 16-bit program counter and 16-bit data pointer, that is DPTR registers. These are the registers found in 8051 microcontroller. Along with these registers, it has a set of special function registers and a control unit. These are included in central processing unit, that is CPU. Next we can discuss about internal ROM. Internal ROM has a 4 kilobyte memory and it's a program memory, and the ROM means read-only memory and it's a non-volatile memory, meaning that the data is not lost even in the event of power failure. Okay, even there is no power, even in the presence of power failure, the data will not lose. That is called a non-volatile memory. So ROM, we have the 8051 has 4 kilobyte ROM memory. Next we have RAM memory. 8051 has 128 byte of RAM memory. It's a data memory. It's a volatile memory because its content will be lost if power is switched off. That is volatile. A RAM are divided into 3 sections, that is register bank, bit addressable area, and general purpose scratchpad area. So this can be studied in detail in coming sections. Okay. The next IO port, that is input output port. 8051 microcontroller have 4 8-bit input output port, that is P0, P1, P2 and P3. All ports are used as general purpose ports. Here port 1 is dedicated only to input output port because it has no alternative function. Port 1 we have already discussed in when we are studying the pin of 8051 in detail about different types of ports. So we already studied that P1 is no have no alternative function. It only dedicated to input output port. In the presence of external memory, port 0 function as a multiplexed address and data bus, and port 2 function as a higher order of address bus. Okay, all port pin of port 3 are multifunctional. Each pin have its own function. Therefore, each pin of port 3 can be programmed to use as IO or as an alternative function. Okay, so port 3 is used as input output port as well as different pin in the port 3 can be used as different function. It's a multifunctional port. Okay, then we have interrupt control. It supports 3 internal, that is software interrupt, and 2 external, that is hardware interrupt. External interrupt are taken from INT0, INT1 pin, and it has total of 5 interrupts and without considering the reset option. Okay. Then we have timers. 8051 support two multiple mode 16-bit timers or counters. It's a 16-bit. These timers can be work as 16-bit timer or it can work as counters too. In timer mode, they can be used to generate a delay of particular. So in timer mode, this timer or counter IC used to create or generate delay, and in counter mode they are used to count the external pulses, to used to count the pulses. So the timers can be worked, it's a 16-bit timer, it can be worked both as timers and counter. In timer mode it is used to generate delay, in counter mode it is used to count the external pulses. Okay, the next element is serial port. For establishing a serial communication by transmitting and receiving data bits, a serial port is mandatory. So it uses two pins, that is TXT and RXT pins, to transmit and receive bits. Okay, TXT is used to transmit bits to external devices and RXT is used to receive data bits from external memory to the 8051 microcontroller. And an oscillator is used, it is used for providing the clock to 8051, and it decides the baud rate for serial communication too. And it produces a clock of frequency 12 megahertz of frequency. So that's all about different elements of 8051, that is different blocks included in 8051 architecture. And we have special function registers too. So this section can be discussed in the next video. So that's all about today's class. Thank you.